This is All India Radio. In the program Insights, now we bring you a discussion on free online document updation in Aadhar. The participants are K.V. Prasad, political analyst, and Omvesh Upadhyay, AIR correspondent.
Aadhar card is an essential document for an Indian, and almost every Indian has this document. Unique Identification Authority of India, UIDAI, has said in an official statement that they have made the online document update facility free from all charges for Aadhar till June 14th this year. Talking to All India Radio News, Dr. Subhas Garg, Chief Executive Officer of Unique Identification Authority of India, said the decision is to allow the residents to update the documents online in their Aadhar for free of cost, as it is a pro-people initiative that will benefit millions of residents. Mr. Garg also said that this will support the government's vision on ease of living and help the people to have a better access to government schemes. And to discuss on the Aadhar update process and its benefit in detail, we are joined by political analyst Mr. K.V. Prasad. Welcome to the program, Mr. Prasad.
Thank you very much.
So, Mr. Prasad, the recent news that we are listening about the Aadhar updation and the process that revolves around this, I want to understand from you what is this announcement and what is the main objective of this decision?
I think the fact is the government is continuously striving to make ease of living for its citizens. So the idea is to make less interference and make a seamless transition for various beneficial schemes that are available. In fact, the whole idea of Aadhar, when it came up, this is how it was visualized. The idea was to have a seamless and non-interfering transfer of funds from the government under its various schemes to the beneficiaries themselves. When it got rolled out for a long time, between 2010 and 2016, we did not have a law to actually put it in place. It was more rolled out as a plan and a program of the government. But eventually in 2016, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government came into place, they formed the legal backing to it so that we have a law in place from 2016, which is guided and regulates the manner in which we do Aadhar and how Aadhar can be used in daily life. Just as you mentioned, today from point zero, if we look at it, almost there are 1,200 schemes and programs of the government, both central and state, which are directly using Aadhar-based transfer. So I think that gives you an understanding. And as you mentioned, almost 10% saturation has taken place of Aadhar enrollment. So if we put the two figures together, you'll get an idea, Omvesh.
We have to tell the listeners as well about how they can upload their documents, whether be it their address proof. So what is the procedure of document update and how it can be done? Plus, is there any list of documents that is needed to be uploaded in order to revalidate the proofs?
Obviously, I think you're very right. The fact is the government decided to do it, as I mentioned, for Aadhar, which have been generated for more than 10 years ago. So the first Aadhar was generated in the year 2010. So if you look at that way, we are 13 years old. The idea is the government wants people who have crossed 10 years to come and update on the UIDAI platform, proof of identity and proof of address. These are the two demographic details which help and enable citizens and people who are drawing benefits on the various schemes to continue enjoying them without any hindrance. Because over the years, people may have shifted their location from where they were originally staying. In some cases, the identity document may have been issued at a point. This updation and revalidating already data that the government has. As for the question is how one can go about it, 2 points you already made. One of it is this process of updation is allowed in two manners. One, of course, you can visit the UIDAI platform itself on the web and do these necessary changes by uploading the necessary documents in support of these two areas. The other is to go to a registered center and get it done. Earlier provision existed where if you do it online, you had to pay rupees 25 and rupees 50 when you go to the center. This 3 months, the Government of India, which started on 15th of March, the plan of UIDAI, will, as you mentioned yourself, will run up to 14th of June, will give the people who want to update their Aadhaar, especially those who are holding the numbers for more than 10 years, to update it free of cost online. The usual charge of which was being charged at the center continue. So the benefit is people from the comforts of their home or wherever closest where they can work on have access to this system and web can do updation without much of a problem.
So Mr. Prasad, you said that people who are choosing to do the process online can go to My Aadhar portal. But is it mandatory for everyone, or as you said that it is only for people who are Aadhar holders from 10 years or more?
Well, I think there is initially what the government mentioned, and if you look at it in January when there was a conference of whole thing of how do you take it forward, this was looked at as one of the core areas because one, you had structured around good governance. So that time too, they had said the UIDAI encourages people to update the data which is more than 10 years old. So that I think is the thing, because as I mentioned, over the period of time, things have changed. People may have moved locations. People's demographic, the details which are available right now may have altered. So it's better and for better delivery. And the government also has the advantage. It gets the latest data. So as I said, if you start at 2010, it is almost 13 years old. So I'm sure as things move on, it's but natural that we update your records.
Mr. Prasad, would you also throw some light on the Aadhar app and what solutions it provides? And also, can we say that this app is more like a one-stop solution for Aadhar holders?
Well, I think all of us know this country is, everybody uses mobile, and most of them have switched on to the smarter versions of mobile telephones. So if you look at the figures of what TRAI tells us, or the kind of mobile internet penetration in this country, it's huge numbers almost. To that extent, to make life easy, this Aadhar application was developed. It has certain checks and balances. Obviously, it takes into account the person who is downloading, and all the data is so that you know the person who is downloading has the necessary security precautions installed in that app. The idea is just as we draw services. Today you have a banking service on the banking portal, which you don't have to actually sit down with a computer, but you can do transactions over your mobile phone, your Paytm or other digital payments. So similarly, Aadhar has come up with this Aadhar, and actually if you look at that with another innovation which the government and the UIDAI have worked out, which probably we can talk of it in a little detail, is the AEPS, which is actually a very unique concept where you're looking at the last mile banking. It's like a micro ATM, because a large section of the society do not stay in rural and urban areas or nearby urban areas. So if they're staying in remote villages where access to a nearest bank or a nearest center is far away, and they need financial transactions to conduct.
And that takes me to my next question, that although you very rightly said that India has a huge network of banks covering urban and rural areas, it is yet to cater the needs at blocks, villages or even smaller portions. So Aadhar-enabled payment system was launched, and that some AEPS were even popularly called as micro ATMs for their easy money withdrawal services. So Mr. Prasad, how one can use this service and how significant it has been since the launch?
Well, just to give you a figure, just looking at the data, till date, it's almost 1,630 crores of money or transactions have conducted. So that gives you a volume of the success and of the service. Of course, no service is full and final. It keeps improving. And the whole idea as they look at it, you have a microchip and you have some kind of a machine which allows the person who's empowered to go conduct this transaction with the person has to be delivered financial or the money that they need. So at that point of time, there are very strict checks and balances which make sure that the person who's actually conducted this transaction has encrypted and has a finger scan or something like that, so that you know who's doing it, and the person who's receiving it or on whose behalf it is being done is also verified. You have a double check. It also helps people, imagine not just in rural areas, people who are physically not in a position to go out and conduct banking transactions because of age-related issues or many other physical challenges. So I think it's a wider social dimension that we should look at, Amresh.
Here I would like to share some stats as well, that Aadhar holders carried out around 9,000 crore authentication transactions so far, including 200 crore in January this year alone. So indicative of the growth of digital economy in the country. Mr. Prasad, how Aadhar is contributing to the digital economy and its development?
Well, I think the data that you provided authenticates the fact that the push towards a digital economy is something which it's on the forward path. If you look at the data, as you pointed out, in fact, if there is other data which tells us that since the inception of or the first ever generation of number in the year 2010, we had 1.35 billion transactions, and today the data which you just mentioned, I think it also today that is 1.37 crores in January. So many updations have taken place. 88 billion have been authorized. Authentications have been done. Some 710 million updations have been done till the start. And today in January, the figures show at a higher number. Just to another figure that I would like to flag. You talked of the saturation in terms of number of people who are doing it, right? That means today, if you look at it from 0 to 5 years, nearly 37% of the population has Aadhaar. In the 5 to 18 years category, 95% people have Aadhaar of the population, projected population, and almost 101% in the 18 and above category. So you can see there's a deeper penetration happening. So people are increasingly adopting and adapting to this technology because they see benefits drawing out of it. As I said, 1,200 schemes, whether it is central or state, do benefit out of this system. So I think that's one reason why people are agreeing, and that's what ease of living is all about. Prime Minister tells us.
And recently, if I'm not wrong, Unique Identification Authority of India has carved out 5 focus areas to dedicatedly work on the ease of living as well as ease of doing business for residents. So can you please talk about that as well and throw some light on that?
Yeah, Umesh, this is a meeting which I mentioned where we had in January in Kevadia, where these people got together because the 5 issues that they are focusing on is that Aadhaar should be central to residents. So it's resident centricity as they call. Make an attempt to expand the use of Aadhaar for various purposes, increase security and privacy because that's very important. And remember, the Supreme Court also had talked about the right to privacy of citizens. So that is something. And today, the government is working on a data protection bill, which also looks at the privacy as an issue. So if you look at that, then we all know technology is not standstill. It keeps moving. So that's one reason why Aadhaar and people, the UIDA authorities are looking at the continuous technological upgradation. And just about a week ago or so, I think we had an input which the UIDA said that they have used a new technology which is artificial intelligence based and machine language based, where your finger scanning which is required, the biometrics has some better features to make it more secure. So this is something which shows that there's a constant work going on to upgrade both on security and the available technology. And lastly, I think this is very crucial in the larger context of India's contribution for global good, is to see and collaborate how this whole Aadhaar ecosystem that India has more or less stabilized over the last 7-8 years, how this can be used to help global economy. Because there are many countries in the world who have appreciated this. In fact, I think sometime back, the World Bank chief economist had praised this whole idea of how seamlessly, as I said, transfer of money goes from the government kitty to the intended beneficiaries. Remember, we all know, probably the younger generation may have only heard about it. Way back in 85, we heard the then Prime Minister tell us, the Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, that every 1 rupee that the government sends, probably just not even a 15 paisa reaches to intended beneficiaries. So there was leakages. So I think all that has helped the governments over the day to come up with such foolproof systems where the intended beneficiaries, the targeted beneficiaries get full and every benefit, every pie of the penny.
Very rightly pointed out by you, Mr. Prasad, and to add in this that Aadhaar has been significantly used for government's direct benefit transfer and public welfare schemes as well that you were mentioning earlier. And now we are also seeing a function of Aadhaar that user can check their eligibility for particular schemes through Aadhaar that we have seen in the Ayushman Yojana. And apart from that, when recently the central government is aiming to expand the scope of DigiLocker, how Aadhaar is also seen as a cornerstone of this step as well, where it is providing a scope and opportunity and identity to individual people who were not in this space earlier, but Aadhaar is easing and providing that ease of living. Final comments from your side.
Well, just to add one more thing, apart from the government schemes which are Aadhaar based, many financial institutions, banks and non-banking financial corporations are also helping onboarding customers using the Aadhaar system. And coming to the last issue, we all know we are living in a digital world and you don't have to carry physical papers and worry about the physical documents all the time, because storing them and retaining them and carrying them at the time of requirement becomes a hassle. But today, nobody steps out of the home without having a mobile in the pocket. So that has changed the way people are doing business for themselves and making governments and enforcement agencies much easier to track and do their work successfully, Mr. Anvesh.
With your insightful inputs, I believe this conversation will be helpful for the listeners and would have answered their queries about Aadhar as well. So thank you so much, Mr. K.V. Prasad, for joining us today on All India Radio.
Thank you very much.
You were listening to a discussion on free online document updation in Aadhar. The participants were K.V. Prasad, political analyst, and Omvesh Upadhyay, AIR correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.